here's Joy Ann Reid with her with one of her many weird takes. Usually her takes involve her blaming Russia for random things. Defund the police? Republicans at this stage refused to defend the police who fought the insurrectionists in hand-in-hand combat, and they want to defund the FBI and military over a made-up, twisted version of an legal theory, because they hate the idea of anti-racism. It's weird, because a large police state is completely contradictory to anti-racism. And it's not a completely wrong point. Democrats are coming out so hard in favor of police that it makes Republicans' statements of law enforcement feel milquetoast in comparison. But there's more. Defund the military is literally the Trumpist right's new thing, and they're using this fake but ugly war against anti-racism as a cudgel. Take that in for a moment. Fight anti-racism by defunding our troops. So this is more bird brain logic, because actually defunding police and the military industrial complex is a great way, a very good step towards helping with anti-racism, because of this thing called imperialism, where black and brown lives are endangered by United States military intervention. You know, this thing that goes on, and the focus of it doesn't revolve around Russia or even China. And for what offense? For trying to root out the white nationalism in our fighting forces, which seems wise, given the number of veterans, so-called oath keepers, and 3%ers who showed up at the election. Joy, have you seen the Miami police and the racial demographic of them? You know, the Miami police force is a great example of why identity doesn't matter much in your police state, because it's majority black and brown, and they're still carrying out the same authoritarian, oppressive tactics on their citizens the same way that a white-led police force would do. And what passes for thought leaders in the GOP are putting out the messaging, defund the military, unless they agree to stand down on white nationalism, and also on sexism and anti-trans stuff too. More of this weird, odd math and sequencing, because the police force and military industrial complex are two of the biggest institutions that have the biggest problem with white nationalism, and defunding is a very good start to try to tear down those white supremacy institutions. And if you think that just trying to replace white people with other people of color to keep it going, then you're going to see the same problems continue. Even if white people are less involved. You know this thing that's called rainbow imperialism? It's still the same as white imperialism. With their total embrace of Trump, the MAGA's new party's new enemies of the state are the military. And for the thought crime of fighting racism, teachers daring to try anti-racism, and any police who stand in the way of a racist insurrection stick to stop, frisk, and beat coppers. Man, that doesn't make sense. The FBI for investigating insurrection in collusion with Russia and our nationalism, insurrection, and crushing non-white voters. And what's weird about this logic is if you really do cut the funding of police and military, it would actually weaken the white nationalism. Because money equals power. And that's always got to be the route to start to really bring real change. And the soulless, bland, so-called leaders of this party, Kevin and Mitch, will quietly go along and coddle accused child sex traffickers, QAnon moons, and insurrection sympathizers. Due to their sheer, unquenchable thirst for absolute power, God help us if they ever get it. Man, this pearl clutching of January 6th. It's always more funny from the liberal perspective. When you see that the truth is January 6th was a self-induced incident. She's replied a bit. They're already looking to force an anti-critical race theory language into bills funding the military. In short, they're going to literally defund the military. Oh no. I didn't realize the equivalencies she's making is ridiculous. You really think you can turn the military-industrial complex and the police into forces of good for anti-racism? My God, is that crazy or what? This just was really weird. And this is the type of stuff that liberals are going to flip against you. So the left's got to be prepared when you talk about defunding the police and the military-industrial complex. If they listen to Joy Ann Reid takes, they're going to call you racist for it. They may even start to call you racist for it now, because they're going to start to argue that properly funded police and military are what's essential to get anti-racism. And I can't think of two things that are more unequal right now, and that's just this logic that Joy Reid just tried to apply in the situation. Although, one last thing, I do find it weird how Republicans are mainly like indifferent to not being overly applauding of the police. Yeah, I don't blame them, because this was a self-induced incident, because you just let the people into the chamber and run amok like a bunch of frat boys. And they were more than capable of making sure that these people didn't get anywhere close.